After the shooting, Robinson hid the gun, count 3, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his lover roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not to talk to the police. Police found a photograph of this note, which is weird. So the roommate destroyed a note, but there's a photo of it. Did the roommate destroy the actual note? After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? Question, question, question. You're joking, right?" Charges now brought against the Charlie Kirk assassin named Tyler James Robinson. You can see we've got the affidavit queued up here, and we've got all of the other documents related to his initial appearance, which took place yesterday. Now, the big reveal was this from the criminal information. As we're reading through this, there's this concept called accessory after the fact, telling us over from Cornell that an accessory after the fact is someone who assists one, so it's like sub checkboxes, someone who has committed a crime, political assassination, murder, check that box. After the person has committed the crime, you assist them, it's over. So you could say that, dropping to your knees and faking an arrest, saying that I'm the shooter is maybe an accessory after the fact. Of course, we're talking about George Zinn. But what about other people who may have been helping him stay in hiding for those 33 hours after the shooting took place? Now, with the knowledge that the person committed the crime, so now you're made aware, oh, that person's a criminal, they shot somebody, and now that Charlie Kirk is dead. And 4, with the intent to help that person avoid arrest or punishment. An accessory after the fact may be held liable for, among other things, obstruction of justice, which George Zinn was charged with. But Title 18 of the U.S. Code codifies this thing, and it's the government's burden to prove that you were assisting this person after the crime occurred. So that, of course, coming over from Cornell, and we're keeping that, pinned in our brains as we're analyzing the rest of the documents. And so here's what we've got. In the case of Tyler James Robinson, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk, who is now in custody after apparently an admission from him by his parents, who then brought him into federal law enforcement custody, who has now not apparently confessed to anything, right? Being completely uncooperative now that he's in custody. This information was obtained from your affiant, from police officers, multiple video recordings on social media websites, the Utah Valley University campus surveillance cameras, and those who witnessed the incident. Okay, so big batch of sources here. On September 10th, Charles James Kirk, rest in peace, was at the Utah Valley University for a political event. Now, Mr. Kirk is a conservative political activist who is scheduled to speak there, and the courtyard area is to the west of the Lossy Center. Now, according to video recordings, Charlie was wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants, sitting under a white canopy in the courtyard of the campus facing to the east. The event was attended by hundreds of individuals. Charlie was surrounded by people, with multiple individuals to his left, right, rear, and the front of the canopy. Behind the canopy was a walkway used for access to the university. Now, Charlie was holding a microphone and speaking to the crowd, like a maniac person, right, with a microphone, wrecking America like a fascist with a microphone, as they say. Obviously, I'm being facetious. While speaking into the microphone, they shot him. A loud gunshot was heard at 12:23 hours, and Charlie appeared to have been hit in the neck. Blood was seen coming out of the left side of his neck as he fell over to his left, and we're all still traumatized by that. Charles was transported to the Timpagnos Regional Hospital, pronounced dead at the hospital. Investigators reviewed the surveillance cameras. Who did this? While reviewing the cameras, investigators observed an individual on the rooftop of the center at the time of the shooting. Hereafter, the unidentified individual will be referred to as the suspect. Now, based on the surveillance camera footage, the suspect appears to be a white male, dark-colored hair, wearing a dark-colored hat, sunglasses, a long-sleeve black shirt with a picture of an American flag and an eagle printed on the shirt, dark-colored jeans, white-gray shoes with white-colored shoelaces. The shoes appear to be consistent with Chuck Taylor Converse-style shoes. The suspect is also carrying a dark-colored backpack on his back. Suspect walks with a distinctive gait, probably the rifle there in the pant leg. Now, prior to the shooting, suspect appears to walk with a stiff right leg at a relatively slow pace, and the ability to bend his right leg appears to be restricted. Investigators were able to track his movements on the university campus, starting at approximately 11:50 on 9/10, right? And this was before we got the idea that he changed his clothes. So they pick him up late. We learn later, I think we're going to see, that he was actually on campus earlier and just changed his clothes. Who's the guy in this outfit? They just backtraced it. Oh, we pick him up at 11:50. So then at 11:50, a surveillance camera first captured the suspect walking across a grassy area of the North Campus Drive at 800 West. He walked south through the parking lot and approached a pedestrian tunnel that runs underneath the campus. Before entering the tunnel, he paused at the top of the stairs and pulled out what appeared to be a cell phone from his right pocket using his right hand at approximately 11:53. Now, he eventually put what appeared to be a cell phone back in his right pocket using his right hand. So was he just checking the time? Was he just looking at the time or the date, saying anybody text me? Or did he use it? Surveillance captured the suspect making his way. Was he texting somebody? I'm about to be in position or something. At approximately 12:02, suspect was recorded walking on the north side of the Lossy Center building, walking with the same gait as earlier. He entered the Lossy Center building through a set of doors in the southeast corner of the center building. At 12:15, he was then observed walking up the stairs that led to the common area adjacent to the building. He then walked to a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the building, and then at 12:17 climbed over the short wall, appeared to crouch down on the north side of the wall on the rooftop. Then at 12:22, he stood up and started running across the rooftop of the Lassie Center. The notable limp, absent. He ran to the west side of the rooftop and appeared to scoot along the rooftop area as he got closer to the edge. Then at 12:22, he laid down in a position consistent with the prone shooting position near the edge of the rooftop in the direction of the courtyard area. The rooftop of the Lassie Center overlooks the courtyard area. And then at approximately 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot. At approximately 12:23, surveillance shows he stood back up and sprinted on the rooftop of the building. He then ran to the northeast corner of the building and approached the edge of the rooftop. He then placed a dark-colored item on the rooftop and proceeded to lower himself off. He then dropped off the rooftop onto the grass below. He ran north near the parking lot approximately 12:24 hours, like a minute later. And he's saying it's a dark-colored item, so he can't tell if it's the gun. What is it? Is it the backpack being thrown off? What is it? Suspect dropped off the rooftop, then ran north near the parking lot. 12:24, runs across Campus Drive Road, then appeared to be carrying an item. Can't tell what it is. The area to the north of the Campus Drive Road, where this suspect crossed over, consists of a grassy area and is at the edge of the campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel, and Kash Patel says they've got a DNA evidence match to this dude. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98, 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on this, including, "Notice his bulge. What's this?" with the kind of emoji like the big eyes. Inscriptions on 3 unfired casings called "Hey Fascist, Catch," up arrow symbol, right arrow symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired case saying, "Oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao." We know that one. And then, of course, if you read this, you're gay one. Now, investigators also discovered a shoe impression, and it was located in the vicinity where he climbed down from the rooftop. The impression is consistent, again, with the shoes called Converses. Now, on the evening of September 11th, so the shooting happens at 12:23. We've got on the evening of September 11th, so September 10th, Charlie died, so we're now kind of over 24 hours of the evening. Family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the sheriff saying that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he did it. The information was then relayed to Utah sheriff and scene investigators and was also conveyed to the FBI. Then investigators reviewed additional video footage from surveillance and identified Robinson on the campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at 8:29. Okay, so he was on the campus much earlier on September 10th. And he's observed in that video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light colored shoes. When encountered in person, he was observed in consistent clothing with the surveillance images, right? And he kind of wore the same shirts based on the photos that we saw. Just different colors. It's basically the same, scam we run here. Same brand, same sizes, just different shapes and colors. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner before September 10th, and in a conversation with another family member, mentioned Charlie was coming. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. Family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member stated that, or the shooter? The family member also confirmed that Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. All right, so do we have 2 people who think that Charlie's bad, or is it just the one guy? Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson, Lance. Investigators interviewed the roommate, who stated that his roommate, Robinson, made a joke. It's just a joke on Discord. He says, "Oh no, I don't know what he's talking about. It's just a joke." Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord, and he opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. Why would he say that? As we're going to see, he got a clear confession, allegedly, from Tyler Robinson, as we're going to see. Back down here, we're going to see in the text messages, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" "I am. I'm sorry. I did do it." Okay, we're going to read through this. "What? You're joking, right? You're joking, right?" Kind of over-engineered a little bit, but it's interesting. So if the roommate, or the, Lance Twiggs, the trans boyfriend, who's the roommate, if he has a full-blown confession in these messages, why was he reporting to the cops as soon as they showed up? "Oh, he just made a joke on Discord." Okay, but what about the text messages that he sent to you where he admitted it? Investigators asked, "Will you show us?" He did. He showed them several messages, and he allowed them to take photos of the screens of the messages. Now, these photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon. What emoji? I don't know. And Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating he needed to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. Does that sound like a joke to you? Leaving the rifle in a bush. Messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in in the towel. Huh, is that all jokey? Oh, he just made a joke on Discord? What? Let me see the joke that you're talking about there, Lance. What kind of jokes do you guys tell? Oh, murder jokes. Got it. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope in the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. Now, based on the evidence detailed, I believe there's probable cause that Tyler Robinson committed the crimes of aggravated murder of Charlie Kirk and put many around him in grave risk, and the felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice for hiding the rifle, and all of that submitted initially. Okay, this was entered back on 9/12, and we saw that the Crowder crew leaked a lot of that for us. But then we got the criminal information, which is now submitted as a part of his initial appearance. We get some more facts submitted that we can apply. Here are the charges. Of course, count 1, aggravated murder. He knowingly killed Charlie Kirk because he's a monster. Now, conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty, and they announced that yesterday during the proceedings. They also say they targeted Charlie Kirk because of his political expression, so they're going to add a sentencing enhancement if they get a conviction. They say if we find that he targeted somebody based on their political views, that can be an aggravating factor. And so when we talk about felonies, we have a lot of these charts that you kind of just move up and down in the charts. You can have aggravating factors that will move towards a stronger, higher sentence, and you can have mitigating factors that will push you back towards a mitigated, lesser sentence. Now, this was also an aggravating factor. There were children in the area when you shot and killed Charlie. Also, felony discharge, same type of enhancement, and of course, obstruction of justice, because he concealed and removed the firearm, second-degree felonies. He's trying to delay. And then we have all these other charges that have been added here. So the initial first three were the first three that we saw. Then they've added tampering with a witness, which is related to his roommate to withhold testimony, information, and directing his roommate, this is the action, to delete the incriminating text messages. Did the roommate do that at all? Because we're going to see this story about look under my keyboard and there's a note there. So look at that note and then respond after you've read that note. So yes, he directed, so we can charge him tampering with a witness, but was the roommate an accomplice after the fact? Did the roommate know and actually maybe delete something or do something differently based on the note? The note comes out, maybe he takes a picture of that note. That's the fake note. It's not the real note. The real note says, hey, we're going to have a ruse coming up here. So just nuke this because I want to make sure you don't get in trouble, and then just play this game with me where we have this conversation back and forth. So we also have count 6, tampering with a witness, third-degree felony, saying that he directed his roommate to stay silent if police questioned the roommate. And the roommate sounds like he didn't do that, or the roommate would have a ruse. Okay, if the roommate comes in and the roommate's like, I'm not saying anything, you're all screwed, I'm not giving you access to anything, blah, 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 he immediately becomes a suspect, right? A co-conspirator. So he's got to have something to talk about. He's got to, oh no, I had no idea. A lot of that crap going on out there these days. No, I had no idea. Political violence? I've never called anybody a Nazi ever. Oh yeah, you did, PB&J. We got 15 different posts about it showing the same. So a lot of this, right? I have no idea. So here you have another one, a misdemeanor, violence committed in the presence of a child. And here's the more full statement from the same investigator, Brian Davis of the State Bureau of Investigations. He says, all right, on September 10th at 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking to a large crowd in Utah. Police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action 30-06 rifle nearby. Now, over the next approximately 33 hours, and a lot of people are going, oh gosh, the Freemasons did it. Police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered at the sheriff's office. Now, DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After the shooting, Robinson hid the gun, count 3, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his lover roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not to talk to the police. Children were present at the time, and so this guy's got 7 counts now. Now, they give us more background on Turning Point. They say Turning Point's a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk, and they organized a public outdoor event on September 10th. The event was the first in a series of similar events that they were going to be holding across the nation. He's a well-known conservative activist, discussed various political issues with audience members, and they've garnered significant number of supporters, and they were a lot of fun. Now, the event in Utah was announced far in advance and garnered significant publicity and interest, and consequently, several hundred people came. Mr. Kirk was interacting with the crowd before the event officially got underway. Then, approximately at noon, Mr. Kirk seated himself under a portable canopy behind a table and a microphone to have a conversation. He began speaking to the crowd and fielding questions from the attendees, a format Mr. Kirk commonly used, and he allowed questioners to come talk to him. Now, Kirk's team members were very close to him on his right and left, as well as some behind his canopy and others at various close locations near him. The large crowd surrounded Mr. Kirk on 3 sides. Temporary metal fencing separated the attendees from Mr. Kirk by only a matter of feet. Directly above and behind Mr. Kirk were the Hall of Flags, an indoor walkway spanning several hundred feet with floor-to-ceiling glass windows, which overlooked the plaza. We saw some videos from inside there, right? People were like filming, and you could see the shooter kind of running across the roof. People were in the walkway at the time of the shooting. Now, approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a transgender lover who's dating a transgender shot him. A gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a hospital, declared dead. The medical examiner's report is still pending. As far as we know, they haven't found the bullet or have any, aftermath ballistics that we can look into yet, but maybe that's coming. It says, at the moment of the shot, a police officer from Utah was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for a potential sniper and sniper positions. He noted a roof approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position, and he rushed over there, this cop, to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the location, a person must climb over a railing, then drop to the roof only slightly below. The officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the shooting position suspected and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop consistent with the sniper having lain on the roof. Impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of the person lying in the prone position. So that's the first dude on the scene. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it did record an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at 12:15. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area that the other officer thought where he had dropped into the prone shooting position. So cop comes up, he's like, he's probably right here, man. Lots of evidence right here. Camera matches. They say that's where he was. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. So goes over, lies in position. We don't see it, anything. Shot goes off. He pops back up and he's running away. This discovery led to an intensive review of the surveillance recordings to try to track and identify this guy. Surveillance revealed the following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the day of, he entered the campus from the north. Now he's seen wearing a black shirt with an American flag in its center, a dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. We saw the photos. Throughout the surveillance, he keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face, kind of hiding behind the bill of the cap. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. Many suspect that's where the gun is. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with the rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railing off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. Now, a camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot is fired, the camera then captures him again, running across the roof carrying an item which looks like it's a shape consistent with a rifle. He is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying, presumably the rifle, as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs towards the northeast end of the campus. So then law enforcement officers, they follow the escape path to the northeast end of the campus, where they believe he left campus and entered a wooded area nearby. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shooting. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired, so he didn't eject anything. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows: fired cartridge, and we get a little bit more detail because this is capitalized, and notices bulge, and then this is like an emoji face, I think, like what? Like big eyes. What's this? And we think this is a furry type of thing because they are talking about their genitals or something. Then there's a second cartridge called Hey Fascist Catch, and there's arrow symbols, and many people are saying that it's kind of, a double entendre, so it kind of means two things. One, the arrow symbols means that this is from a video game called Helldivers, and it's like a call for backup or something. But you could also say it's got a double meaning, right? So it's like, oh no, because you know how people just say, yeah, like hopefully they don't get killed in a video game. People say that, like, oh no, we don't want anything bad to happen to them, in Minecraft, or what people say. It's not in Minecraft, because, it's just a video game. We're not talking about actually killing anybody. We're just talking about falling off in Minecraft, right? Everybody kind of adds that to the end. So they're like, no, I'm not engaging in political violence because I'm just talking about video games. So kind of the same thing. Hey, fascists, catch this bullet. Are you talking about killing fascists? No. no, we're just video gamers. Okay. So then, oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao. Of course, that's the anti-fascist Italian song. And then, of course, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. No, we're not. So the rifle, ammunition, rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and a towel. Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published the photos, asked for the public's help. Meanwhile, they tried to identify him through other means. So on evening of September 11th, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler, the shooter, went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend and turned himself in. Now, Robinson's mother stated the following to the police. Mom, she said on September 11th, the day after the shooting, Mom saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought, oh crap, it looks like my son. Mom called her son and said, son, where are you? He said, I'm home, I'm sick. And that he had also been at home sick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspected shooter looks like Robinson. Father says, yeah, it does. Now, Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, the son had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented, the brainwashing coming into full effect. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who is transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, like, what are you doing? But especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. So is this son rebelling against dad? You're not my father, and I'm gonna go take out somebody that dad maybe likes? In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event in Utah, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event, and he accused Charlie of spreading hate, which is fake. Now, Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter, he agreed it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle the police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. Now, as a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Son, where's the rifle at? Robinson did not respond. However, dad spoke on the phone with son. The son implied, Dad, I'm going to kill myself. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. Well, don't do that. Just come over here. So as they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter. So he implied now and stated that he couldn't go to jail. I'm not going to jail. I did it. I just want to end it. When asked why he did it, Tyler explained that there was too much evil and the guy, Charlie, spreads too much hate. Where did he get that idea? Now, they talked about Robinson turning himself in, and they convinced Tyler to speak with a family friend who's a retired deputy sheriff. Jail's not that bad. You're going to be okay. Go through the process. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with the Robinsons, and his parents convinced himself to turn himself in. Now, the family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be in his best if he brought all the evidence with him to the sheriff's office. It's like, okay, bring everything you got. The family friend also asked Robinson, do you have any clothes that were related to what you did? He replied he had disposed of the clothes in different areas, which I'm sure they're hopefully corroborating. Then we get to the roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate, they say, they interviewed this dude, a biological male. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he provided those messages to police. Here's how it went down. On September 10th, 2022, which obviously is a typo, which is pretty ridiculous, the roommate received a text message from Robinson, which said, drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard. That's message 1. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note. Now, the roommate reports that note says the following, and I don't know why he would write this note. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Police found a photograph of this note, which is weird. So the roommate destroyed a note, but there's a photo of it. Did the roommate destroy the actual note, the real note as well, and just not take a photo of that one? Now, after reading the note, the roommate responded, what? Question, question, question. You're joking, right? So the ruse begins. Robinson says, I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Okay, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate says, why? Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence, except this series of text messages. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they've moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. So like the dude is fleshing out like his entire crime in this text that he warned the person about. Question from the roommate. How long have you been planning this? And there's these ... dots here in the transcript, which is also interesting. You know, ... normally means like you're kind of leaving stuff out, right? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. ... Something's cut out. So then Robinson comes back, and I think that there was something cut out, because wouldn't this dude respond? And like, what's the time difference between this? So would he have responded, or was this just like 5 minutes later and the roommate's just like, I don't know, like just sitting there in shock and awe? Robinson says, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I don't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't even know if it had a serial number on it, which is interesting, but it wouldn't trace to me. Okay, so it'd go back to Grandpa, who then go back to you? I worry about prints. I had time to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or the time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? Yeah, the effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really effing stinks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Tears emojis. Okay. Again, we get another ... which leads me to believe that they're cutting something out. Don't know what it is. He then says, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle, says Robinson. He says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, but I'm not answering. I'm sure the roommate is responding, probably a bunch of other messages. Maybe they're cutting it out because they don't want you to, read into him and blame him for stuff, but I think it's very relevant. What is this ... Is it just a new photo? What are they symbolizing? Robinson says, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, nothing, no response from the roommate. No time, no idea how much time. Is he just talking to himself? Then another exchange. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. He says to the roommate, you are all I worry about, love. Roommate says, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So strange stuff. And I don't know what those ... are. Maybe they're cutting it out for space or time. It's not relevant. It's just a bunch of other messages from the roommate, but I think we'd like to see the full exchange. Now, the police executed a search warrant on Tyler's residence. During the search, police discovered shell casings with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near shooting. Police also found several targets with bullet holes in his home. So the various counts, count 1, murder, pertains to Robinson shooting and killing Charlie Kirk. Felony 2, discharge of a firearm. We know the charges. Saying, based on all this evidence that was received, we now believe that there's enough here from the Utah County Attorney's Office called Jeffrey Gray to bring the case against Tyler Robinson for all of those 7 counts. So we also saw Tyler James Robinson was held without bond, and the judge wrote this in their order, said this is an order to hold this person without bail, not getting out of custody. Based on the affirmation of the arresting officer, we find probable cause existed for an arrest. We didn't need a warrant. There's enough here. Now, the current offense is a capital felony, and there's substantial evidence to support the charge, and so therefore Robinson is being held without bail, not coming out of custody. Now, when you go in and you're charged with felonies, you'll often meet with somebody, people will call them various things, but pre-trial services or probation or whatever, usually after you're convicted, but sometimes it's kind of the same office that does these assessments, and they analyze you. They say, oh, do you have criminal records? Are you a flight risk? Have you got any outstanding warrants or any of these things? And so they've done an assessment on Tyler James Robinson, and they're actually finding he's pretty low on this scale. New criminal activity scale, they hold him out of a 2 out of a 6. Failure to appear scale, have you not shown up to court before? Have you ignored your traffic tickets or anything? He's on a 1. All right, so not a lot. Now here's some risk factors. He's age 22. It's a violent offense, and he's 20 years or older. It's a violent offense, and he's not under the age of 20, so no. Pending charge, like he's not got another case. Does he have any other prior misdemeanor convictions? No. Any prior felony convictions? No. Any prior violent offense? 0. Any failures to appear? 0. Prior failure to appear older than 2 years? None. And any prior sentences before this case? None. So here are the recommendations. They say, we got to detain, or if you're going to release him, you got maximum conditions. Okay, it's a murderer. But if the statutory requirements are met, you hold him without bail. Like, this is interesting, right? So on this chart, we talk about these all the time. He's ROR, which is release on your own recognizance. Okay, just let you go. Except it's a murder case, so no bail. Now, pre-trial release conditions, if you're released on your own recognizance and more, but none of that applies because he is being held without bond.